Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Siobhan and today we're going to talk about some very important news coming out of Canada. Canada is well known for its welcoming stance towards international students, but you might have seen the headlines recently stating that Canada is considering the possibilities of putting a cap on the number of international students they issue permits to. If you are a prospective international student, you might be wondering, what does this mean for me? I am going to tell you what the possible changes are, but first, here is the backstory. International students are seen as a critical part of Canada's immigration plans. Canada welcomed a whopping 551,405 international students from 184 countries in 2022. This was a 24.1% increase on the number of study permits that were issued to international students in the year 2021. In November 2022, the government called upon international students who were already in the country to offset some of the country's labor shortage by allowing international students to work more than 20 hours per week, which was the restriction at the time. Data shows that international students contribute over $21 billion each year to the Canadian economy, which is greater than the export of lumber, auto parts, and even airplane. So if international students contribute so much to Canada, from being a solid source of permanent residents, to filling the country's labor shortage, to contributing billions to its economy, why would the government want to put a cap on them? Well, the reality is that Canada is facing a massive housing crisis, which international students seem to be getting a part of the blame for. In 2018, the average price for a house in Canada was around $488,000, with that average moving to around $704,000 in 2022. Separate and apart from the cost of buying a home, the cost of renting in many Canadian cities seem to be spiraling out of control as well. According to Zumper, the average cost to rent a one-bedroom apartment in Vancouver today is $2,800. While the average cost for that same one-bedroom apartment in 2021 was only $2,125. So with the rapid growth in the number of international students entering Canada each year, taking along with them very high demand for places to live, the cost of renting and the cost of owning a home have skyrocketed to levels that are simply unattainable for many people. While international students are clearly not the only reason for the housing crisis, the government of Canada definitely seemed to believe that putting a cap on this particular group would have a positive impact on the Canadian housing sector. So again, you might ask yourself the question, what does this mean for me as a prospective international student? It simply means that getting a study permit to come to Canada might just be about to get a little bit more competitive. Separate and apart from putting a general cap on the number of study permits that are issued to international students around the world annually, there are some strategies or options that the government might consider in implementing their cap. The first option that might be considered is to increase the language scores and the academic grades that are required to come to Canada as an international student. The rationale is that this would automatically limit the number of students who are eligible to apply to come to Canada as an international student based on their language and academic scores. The second option might be to force schools to have housing available for the international students they admit, tying the number of international students they can enroll each year to the housing capacity they have available on or off campus. The final strategy on my list is the possibility of the government implementing a provincial cap, limiting the number of international students each province would receive each year. However, this would potentially be the most technical one to implement because of possible pushback from each provinces. This leads us into what international students could possibly do to increase their chances of getting a study permit if the government were to follow through with their consideration of putting a cap on international students. So my take is this. Start applying for schools in provinces that are less desirable for international students. These are provinces such as Newfoundland and New Brunswick, as opposed to provinces such as British Columbia and Ontario, which are hotspots for international students. We're at the end of this video, guys, and whatever the decision of the government of Canada will be, I do hope that you will get your chance to come to Canada as an international student. If you found any value in this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon.